Daenerys Targaryen is a smart and capable leader with a powerful army behind her and wise counselors by her side. But if she thinks that Jon Snow is just going to come and bend a knee to her, then Daenerys knows nothing about Jon Snow. It's Game of Thrones, Season 7, Episode 2, Stormborn. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Game of Thrones. So yes, of course, lots of spoilers ahead. Alright, so nice opening this week. Wow, Dragonstone, not a pleasant place to be on a dark and stormy night there. Very drab, not comforting at all. Doesn't give you that, sit by the fire with a cup of hot cocoa feeling right there. But as beautiful and impressive that opening bit was, the scene with Dany and everyone I thought was really important. Really in the sense of kind of showing Dany's growth and strength as a leader. Because she sort of had a little adventures and trials with everybody else in her court, except for Varys. So I think it was wise for at this point to really push that question of loyalty, something that comes up a lot throughout this episode actually, and to find out really what Varys has done, the roles that he's played, the decisions that he has made, especially against her back in the early days when he was still back over in King's Landing. And her real goal, I think, with all this really was to push him into that point of revealing his true self. His motivations, his desires, why that he is doing things. And of course, as he has told Tyrion previously, Varys' loyalties are not to any particular king or leader. Varys' loyalties are to Westeros. And I think by Dany, all of those questioning pushed her. That was Dany's intention, to push him to make this reveal. And I think this is exactly what it is that she wanted to hear. Because yes, Dany does need loyalty. Any leader does. But she doesn't want blind loyalty. She wants loyalty and strength of people around her that are going to be willing to tell her when she is crossing the line, when she is making a mistake. She doesn't want just the yes men around her that kind of Cersei and her dad Targaryen and even Robert Baratheon and all of these leaders typically tend to have at some point. You just have the yes men around you, just telling you what it is that you wanted to hear. And that's what she doesn't want. Which is perfect because that shows that she is in fact the very leader that both Varys and Tyrion want on the Iron Throne. So it was a great opening sequence, and of course we move kind of immediately forward, and strangely enough, a quick reference back with a nice little burn to Varys about forgiveness for past loyalties when Melisandre shows up. And her, of course, real point here is boom, with a walk and a word, we have Jon Snow introduced, and the effect is immediate and beautiful. I love how Tyrion just sort of packs up, oh, what? Because yes, while Dany's note to say, yes, send a note to Jon Snow, a raven to Jon Snow and have him come and bend a knee, is showing she doesn't really know much about Jon Snow. Luckily, she does have Tyrion next to her, and Tyrion does know Jon. And I love how we're seeing all of these positions and roles have played into this particular moment, because as a raven gets sought, and by the way, love the fact that we just get right to the raven and the delivery and the messages back and forth, and we don't have this drawn out. I love that. But we have on the other side over there in Winterfell, when we have Jon and Sansa talking, they specifically bring up, well, it's Tyrion. We trust Tyrion. We know Tyrion. And even Sansa has to admit, which was another nice thing that I'd love to see, that yes, he was always kind to me. He's not like the other Lannisters. So as much as she was kind of cold back then, certainly her experiences since leaving Tyrion has probably showed back just what a nice guy that he really, an honorable man that he really was. So I love the fact that we move on that, we build on that, and then of course we can move right back into the big plans. Because this is another sign where we're seeing how much of Dany really trusting Tyrion. I love how she opened up when we had the discussion back and forth, and Yara is like, yeah, we should attack and do this. And Dany uses Tyrion's words that he just used to her is, you do not want to be the queen of ashes. And he caught that too. I love how we had that little look up of like, okay, she's listening, she's hearing things, she understands where this is. And it's a beautiful, the battle plan sequence was nice. Because you see, we have all of the arguing of what we should do and the worries and concerns and cares. But when Tyrion lays out the plan, it's perfect. I mean, and it's perfect in the sense that it totally counters all of the preparations that Cersei is trying to do. Tyrion knows his sister very well, in the sense of, no, we're going to surround King's Landing with the Westeros soldiers, with the armies from Olenna and from the Dorne in the south. So they're not going to feel like they're invaders, and all the lords are going to feel these aren't foreign invaders, these are people of Westeros, these are people of the realm. And then sending all of the Unsullied and stuff to get Casterly Rock. Oh, just when he started, he said they're going somewhere else. I was like, oh my God, he's going to Casterly Rock. And he is, because it's perfect, it's beautiful. It shuts down the Lannisters, it shuts down their whole back. And because he's using the Unsullied, none of the other lords are going to want to kind of go in and help out, because now suddenly the foreign invaders are just against Cersei. They're not threatening anybody else. So it's a perfect way to underplay all of the preparations and threats that Cersei is trying to use. And then, of course, shut everybody else up too, because once Tyrion says, no, attack my home and take it out, well, that shuts everyone up. Well, the Lannisters, you're going to do all that? Well, nobody's got a problem with that. So it was just beautiful, not only in its brilliance of design, but in the way everybody just like, shh. Okay, that's fine. Now, as I mentioned before, one of the reoccurring themes that happen throughout this episode is the question of loyalty. Obviously, Dany brings that up with Varys in the very beginning, but it's something that when we see Cersei, she is bringing that up with the Tyrell bannermen right there. She is trying to inspire loyalty, of course, not through inspiration so much as terror and fear. Loyalty because bad men are coming to do bad things. And that kind of loyalty through fear, that seems to be a common theme throughout Westeros. Certainly it's what Cersei is using. It's what everybody is regarding that old Mad King Targaryen used to use. It is certainly something that Olenna Tyrell is trying to let Dany know, that maybe a little bit of fear, yeah, the goodness in you is one thing, but, you know, be a dragon, not a wolf, as she mentions. That it is the inspiration of fear that is going to last much more than the inspiration of hope and desire and love and fanciness and all those types of things. And that question of loyalty is, of course, something that Jaime certainly brings up there with Old Man Tarly, which I thought was kind of fun to see. Old Man Tarly is kind of a more important guy than I sort of expected there. Certainly important enough for Jaime to want to bring and be the general of his armies. But it's nice that we kind of had that moment of that discussion of loyalties here, because you have Tarly, who is kind of showing off the old classical loyalty, is he is, you know, pledged to Olenna Tyrell, and he has been her batterman, and he is the one that she follows. Of course, the queen summoned him, so he is also going to listen to his queen. Again, that more traditional kind of loyalty that is earned and established, versus what Jaime and Cersei are basically offering is loyalty through fear. And Jaime puts it pretty clearly to him, are you going to be loyal to your queen or to savages and eunuchs? And I like how they didn't really end that scene with a definitive answer on Tarly's side, which, you know, makes him not quite the bastard that he has been in previous scenes when we saw him before with Sam. So I thought that was kind of nice. Also, I'm not sure if you noticed there, the new son, Tarly's son there, that's Tom Hopper, who played Billy Bones in the Black Sails over on Starz. So yeah, it's kind of fun to see him. Now, the one person who does, of course, know about loyalty here very strongly is Jon. And that whole message that he gets from Sam that really commits him. I like, you know, he's listening to all of the lords and what everybody has to say, and certainly the understanding historically based of Targaryens really can't be trusted. There's some bad history there. On the other hand, much like Varys, whose obligation is just to, whose loyalty is to Westeros, Jon Snow's loyalty is to the North. And I thought that he beautifully put it down in that scene, countering sort of everybody's argument is that, look, I didn't ask this, I didn't mean to be the king, you made me the king, and we need allies because this is not a fight that we can fight by ourselves. And these potential allies have, in fact, the exact things that we need. So that was beautiful. I loved how that whole out, and I loved how it turned around. Again, Sansa doesn't really knows nothing about Jon Snow also, because her fight against him and who's going to be there in the North, I thought was perfect when he turns around and just says, no, I'm putting the North in your hands. Something Littlefinger liked. Littlefinger didn't really like the whole Dragon Queen Daenerys popping up right there. You could see how that would interfere with his ideas for the throne himself. But certainly Sansa being in charge of the North, that's going to kind of work in his favor. But I love that scene again. It's another perfect moment where that statement kind of shut everybody up. Like Tyrion saying, we're attacking King's Landing, when Jon said, no, Sansa, I'm putting you in charge. That pretty much stopped everyone because, oh, it's a Stark and it's Sansa, and certainly Sansa has shown herself to be strong and certainly willing to battle openly with Jon. But now the responsibility is going to be put onto her shoulders. And I'm very excited to see where that's going to go next. And of course, we had a rather sizable battle this week. We'll call it the Battle of the Iron Fleets. How's that sound, okay? Really scary, very impressive, loved. Look, I don't like Euron. I don't. He's a bad, bad man. But he is kind of fun to watch because he's sort of a swaggery bad man. Anyway, I love the whole fight. There's nothing really too much to dig in here. It was beautiful, was exciting, was dark, was scary, was smoky. I think they really played with the whole imagery and emotion and feel. I think the lighting did perfectly to sort of set the feeling up for the battle. It looked very impressive, very scary with all the fire there in the dark. The Sands girls, I haven't really cared too much about them as characters, but I do appreciate that they put up a good fight. They earned their reputation. Yes, they didn't win, but they fought well. They took many enemies out with them, so yay on that part. Looks like we just had 2 of them killed. Looks like the youngest one survived with Arya, who's being taken off, being captured by Euron, who I guess is going to be the gift for Cersei, which is nice, considering that she's responsible for the death of her daughter. So, payback's going to be a bitch right there, I think. And then, of course, devastating to Tyrion's plan for the Second Army, the Dorne Army, to come up with King's Landing. So a lot was really done, and it looks like they pretty much wiped out the fleet there. Now, Theon. Look, Theon, you got to go now, okay? You were tortured, and that was bad. And I think that last moment when he's seeing the tongues being cut out and the teeth being pulled and the ears being cut off and all that, and he's looking at being captured and tortured, and you can see where he might have a strong reaction about that. So in some ways, from a psychological standpoint, I can't necessarily put him apart for diving and running away there. However, Yara was just proclaiming him as her protector, and when it came down to it, this is, I was fine if Theon went out dying and fighting strongly. Good way to end your character arc. You have a lot that you will never really make up for, but that would be at least one way. And you failed to do it. You were given your opportunity, and you failed and you ran away. So Theon, as soon as you can die, I'm going to be fine with that. Yara looks like now she is prisoner, probably second gift for Cersei. So that's kind of messed up. That is a whole big fleet that is now gone. I don't really know what Dany's going to do without that. All right, so my scene of the week. Scene of the week. God, that never gets old. This week is actually the scene with Sam and Jorah. Not the first part, which was all kind of interesting, that was just annoying, but really that second scene where Sam sneaks in at the middle of the night and just rolls the cart in with all the preps and closes the door behind him. I thought it was perfect because this is Sam. With all of the sort of meekness that Sam generally puts off and around him, this is really Sam's character, doing the right thing for the right reasons because it's the right thing to do. He's got to save Jorah Mormont. He knew his father. Sam knows everybody. He knew the king's brother, who was the old maester, and then we have Jorah's dad here. I mean, Sam knows people. But I thought it was just kind of a perfect scene of him stating, look, I knew your father, you are not going to die today. And then really followed up with a nice comedy bit of, by the way, try not to scream because I'm not supposed to be here and this would really be trouble for all of us. It was a great scene. It had that seriousness. It had the comedy. A lot of gross points. I love the subtle conversation kind of back and forth with just the eyes between Jorah and Sam as they're trying to get through all of those. And it was just, there was so much going on. And then, of course, it's the application of his knowledge, why he is there being a maester, saying, forget all the maesters that aren't listening to me and poo-pooing things off. We've got to get this done. So it was a perfect scene for Sam. I thought it was a great character moment. And of course, this means we're going to get Jorah back into the fold of things, back into the action. I don't know what role he's going to play, but we need everybody, right? So overall, just a great scene, which went right into the transition that we didn't need. But he's poking into all that nasty gray stuff and then it cuts right to the pie. Did not need that at all. No more pie for me. That's it. I'm fine now. But that was great because that, of course, leads us into Arya's bit, who is very cold and dark. I don't know. Does anybody else notice, especially her sitting there talking with Hot Pie, who was nice to see, and nice to see that he is getting his cooking skills more developed. Love that bit. Oh, I used the butter there. Oh, I didn't do that. Been making pies? 1 or 2. But besides that, does it seem to you with all that coldness is that Arya is seeming a lot like the Hound? Just biting into the food, asking for ale, drinking that down? Very much. But great scene there in the sense of she hears about the Dragon Queen, about Daenerys showing up, and of course about Jon Snow. And the Starks back in Winterfell, which heads her back home. And that's so excited about that. I so much want Arya to go home. So that was great for all of like a minute and a half there. Until that wonderful scene with Nymeria, who we get to sort of re-see again. We haven't seen them, but Arya lost her wolf, back in season 1 and the big travel down after the attack on her friend when the Hound was supposed to kill her. So it's been quite some time. And that wolf has gotten big. Really big. Really, really big. Very impressive. Very scary. But kind of an interesting scene here because, of course, Arya is trying to reconnect and tells her, you can come with me. I'm going back home, going back up to Westeros. But, of course, thankfully, Mary doesn't go with her, but also doesn't eat her face, which is nice. It's like, I'm not going with you, but I won't eat you today either. We're good. Come on, gang. Takes that pack with her. But that last statement, when Mary leaves and she sees the wolf and just goes, no, because it's not you. I have a feeling that is her inside turning back away from Winterfell, maybe saying to herself, I can't go home. I am not the same person. You can never go home again. You can't go back to who you are. She's a new person. So I want her to go back to Winterfell. I think Sansa could probably need her. But maybe she has a whole different role to play and just not yet. So it was nice to have that reconnection there. I was really pleased about her going back to Winterfell, heading back home. I'm just concerned that that's what that whole scene was really saying is, yeah, you want to go home, but you can't go back. You got to keep moving forward. All right, just a couple of quick bits here. One, someone else who doesn't know Jon Snow, Littlefinger. Littlefinger does not know Jon Snow and decides that, yeah, he can go down to the crypt and say some words to him. No, thank you, Jon, for choking out Littlefinger. I mean, he's still conscious and alive, so he was being kind. But love seeing that. Definitely a little messed up moment there when he says, give Tyrion my best. Yeah, Tyrion, the one that you framed for Joffrey's murder? Yeah, I'm sure he really wants to hear from you. Of course, he doesn't know yet. Can't wait for that moment. Melisandre and Grey Worm. Oh, that was such a cute scene. It was so nice at showing that weakness that comes up. And, and that's kind of what love is. That is a weakness. It's a strength and a weakness. Because for a warrior, now there's something that can get into him, or there's a reason for him to fear. Fear losing her, fear dying and not seeing her again, all of those things. So really just a cute scene. I love how she responds back to him. And then, of course, they had their nice little moment. There are many ways to please each other. So good on them. Oh, the very scary device that Qyburn was showing Cersei down there in the crypts. Yeah, ballista. Basically a giant crossbow that shoots huge spears. Classic weapon, great for sieges, definitely very, very effective against dragons. Same thing they used for the black arrows in The Hobbit against Smaug. So yeah, you can guess. That is not a good sign for the dragons. Now, next week for Season 3, going to be something a little different. We'll have our standard review right afterwards, just like this. But then Tuesday night, next Tuesday at 6 o'clock Pacific, I'm going to be doing podcast back again with Mark over an Enchantment of Eternity. We have done these before, talking about shows, so we're going to go over kind of an in-depth for Episode 3 next week. So, as usual, Monday mornings, my review will come out covering things, and then we'll get to dive into much more in-depth stuff Tuesday evening Pacific time, 6 o'clock. So I will tweet out links and everything like that. Just watch out for my Twitter feed, and I will let you know. So if you did enjoy this review, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, throw those down in the section below. Let me know what you think, how you're enjoying this season, and what you are expecting to see. Now, you can always catch me, of course, on Twitter and Instagram. This is how I let you know about extra things like that thing next week. And that is at Darren Jakes. Go ahead and check that out. Now, you don't want to miss anything. You won't if you are a subscriber. You won't miss any of the shows. We do this. We do Preacher. We've got Inhumans. We got a huge slate coming up this fall. You won't miss anything if you are a subscriber. And you can do that by just hitting my little face right there. And I will go ahead and throw up our latest review for Preacher. Excellent show right there. You can check that out. All right, so that's it for me. I am D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.